Welcome to FederalERPro, where we share the craft of casework. As employee relations practitioners, we should be in a continual state of development. In this video, we'll explore Douglas Factor 2, how the employee's position, level, and duties influence penalty determinations in federal disciplinary cases. This is not legal advice, and we are not affiliated with any federal agency. Let's get into it. In the federal workplace, corrective actions aren't arbitrary. They must adhere to specific guidelines designed to ensure fairness and consistency. When it comes to the penalties, the guidelines are known as the Douglas Factors. The Douglas Factors are a set of 12 criteria established by the Merit Systems Protection Board, or MSPB, to determine if a federal agency's proposed penalty in a disciplinary action is reasonable and appropriate. These factors require agencies to consider various aspects of the misconduct and the employee's circumstances before deciding on a penalty. The only reason to take corrective action is to promote the efficiency of the service, not punishment, and the Douglas Factors help focus in on the penalty that is most appropriate to do so. There are 12 Douglas Factors. Factor 2 is the employee's job level and type of employment, including supervisory or fiduciary role, contacts with the public, and prominence of the position. Douglas Factor number 2 essentially asks, does the employee's specific job role make their misconduct more serious? And if so, how? But it's crucial to remember that this factor works both ways. Just like all the Douglas Factors, factor number 2 can be either an aggravating factor, requiring a more potent corrective action, or a mitigating factor, potentially lessening the severity of the penalty. The MSPB consistently affirms that employees in positions of trust, like supervisors, law enforcement officers, and HR specialists, must meet higher behavioral standards. Their roles impact agency integrity and public trust. According to the MSPB, this factor recognizes a relationship between the employee's position and the misconduct. Essentially, it means that the employee's job matters when deciding on a penalty. The specific factors considered are the employee's job level and type of employment, which may include a supervisory or fiduciary role, contacts with the public, and prominence of the position. There isn't some all-encompassing list of jobs that parses them out by how they fit into Factor 2. But it's not just supervisors. Other positions are also held to higher ethical standards. This includes law enforcement and security personnel, who are expected to uphold the law and maintain public safety. Employees of the IRS are held to a higher standard of compliance with tax laws, as they handle sensitive taxpayer information. Anyone who exercises discretion in regulating, contracting, or conducting government business with private companies is subject to higher standards, especially regarding gifts and conflicts of interest. Finally, we must always consider the element of safety, which is critical in many federal positions. The phrase "public service is a public trust" means that individuals in public service positions have a responsibility to serve the public interest and act in accordance with ethical principles above their personal gain. This concept emphasizes the importance of loyalty to the Constitution, laws, and ethical guidelines, as well as a commitment to integrity and transparency. This is true for all federal employees, but an employee's specific duties are relevant to the damage done by misconduct and the corrective action required to remedy it. In Thomas v. Army, a GS-9 supervisory HR specialist engaged in repeated unwelcome conduct. The board found this behavior struck at the very core of his HR duties, which include preserving merit system integrity. His supervisory role made the misconduct especially serious, and removal was upheld. Here, we have not only a supervisor, but an HR specialist, compounding the aggravating nature of the misconduct. In cases like Lungo versus the Department of Justice, the MSPB has stated that supervisory law enforcement officers are held to a very high standard of conduct. This reflects the immense responsibility and public trust placed in these roles. Again, we have not only a supervisor, which in and of itself it aggravates the penalty, but this guy was a criminal investigator. Do not skip over Factor 2. Too often this factor is an afterthought. Meet Bob and Judy, employees of BRATS. In this hypothetical scenario, we're focusing on two employees who committed the same misconduct. Both employees used their government travel cards for personal purchases of $150 worth of groceries. Both admitted to the misconduct, stating they were short on cash until payday and have since repaid the amount. Both employees have 6 years of service, good performance records, and no prior disciplinary history. The only difference? Their job roles. Let's start with Bob, the budget officer. This is a GS-11 in charge of the agency's money, a budget officer who makes unauthorized purchases, who can't seem to handle their own personal budget, who makes poor decisions regarding money. Not a good look, right? And Judy, the mail clerk, also a GS-11. Her job is sorting and delivering mail. She has no role in managing agency funds, but she still must be trusted to use good judgment, to follow agency policy, and to not take what isn't hers. The agency would still discipline her, but the severity might be less because the breach of trust isn't as critical to their job duties. So in our hypothetical scenario, Bob, the budget officer, received a proposed 10-day suspension, while Judy, the mail clerk, received a proposed 5-day suspension. This difference in proposed penalties directly reflects the agency's application of Douglas factor number 2. For Bob, the budget officer, the agency justified the higher penalty due to the significant breach of financial trust inherent in his position. For Judy, the mail clerk, the agency proposed a lower penalty, focusing on the misuse of government property, but acknowledging the lesser degree of financial responsibility in her role. Crucially, all other Douglas factors being equal. The disparity in penalties is driven by the agency's consideration of the employee's job duties and the level of corrective action necessary to rehabilitate the employee. So, the key takeaway is this: Douglas factor number 2 is not just a minor detail. It's a major consideration for agencies when deciding on penalties. And as our example shows, it can be the defining factor in very different disciplinary outcomes for the same misconduct. Use factor 2 strategically. Define how the employee's role affects expectations. When proposing a penalty, clearly show how the misconduct breached the trust inherent in the position. Thank you for watching. Please come back for more content related to the craft of casework. FederalERPro, where employee relations practitioners hone their craft. Be sure to let us know which topics you want covered. We would love to hear from you. Please like, share, and subscribe.